Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all for joining me today for Taaleem. I want to open up with Surah Al-Fatiha, and then we will commence the presentation. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil Al-Amin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum again. I want to welcome you all to today's Taaleem on behalf of the Taaleem Committee chaired by Dr. Aisha El-Amin, members Dr. Gloria Bashir, Sister Rashida Fitzpatrick, and myself, Lionel Allen Jr. I want to welcome you to our Taaleem today. The title of today's presentation is Bridging the Gap, moving from where you are to where you want to be. I want to share my screen because I did prepare some slides for today. Hopefully you can see my screen without issue. It looks like it is sharing. Give me a thumbs up if you can, using the emojis, letting me know that you are able to see my screen. Somebody do that for me. All right, perfect. Thank you, Dr. Aisha. Thank you, ma'am, Tariq. I know there's only a few of us with us today, and that's fine. My prayer, inshallah, is that those who aren't able to be with us today will be able to view this presentation via our YouTube channel. And those that are with us today will certainly benefit, hopefully, from this presentation. So I was actually inspired to do this presentation from seeing an Apple Watch commercial. And I gave a similar presentation last year because I think this is the right time, the appropriate time to really talk about the examination of who we are and what we want to try to accomplish as we sort of enter fully into the year 2025. But the Apple Watch commercial really helped nudge me in that direction. Because it revealed, and I didn't know this, that there is something called National Quitters Day in the United States. I had never heard of National Quitters Day. And so I did a little bit of research because I was curious. And National Quitters Day is actually the second Friday of the year, the second Friday of January. And it is the day by which most people have abandoned their New Year's resolution. So research shows that by the second Friday of January, the upwards of 2/3 of people who set New Year's resolutions abandon those resolutions. And further research reveals that 92% of people who set New Year's resolutions fail to achieve them by the end of the year. And so we have this vicious cycle of folks making an initial commitment to some sort of self-improvement, but not being able to follow through and to carry out the mission towards the objective. And so every year we find ourselves, and I'm not just talking about other folks, I'm talking about myself as well. We find ourselves sort of caught in this vicious cycle of setting resolutions at the beginning of the year, and then not accomplishing them, failing to follow through, then beating ourselves up and becoming depressed or saddened because we didn't set out what we wanted to accomplish, or we didn't set out to a plan to accomplish the things that we wanted to accomplish. And so we found ourselves right back where we are at the beginning of every year. So I aim today to offer some words of guidance, some words of encouragement, but also some different ways of thinking about this idea of self-improvement, this idea of resolution, so that at the end of 2025, when we find ourselves in December of 2025, that we're looking back on this year, not talking about all the things that we wish we had have done, but rather all the things that we accomplished because of our commitment to improving ourselves, improving our lives, and all the ways that we sort of define that. So I'll start by talking a little bit about the theme, which is, again, is bridging the gap. And so as we think about the gap, what we essentially are talking about is that space between where you are right now and where you want to be or where you intend to reach. And that could be applied to our personal lives as parents, as children, but it also can apply to our professional lives. You know, are there things about our professional lives that we want to improve? Are there goals that we want to set? Are there accomplishments that we are seeking in our professional lives? Again, going back to our personal lives, are there things about ourselves that we want to improve upon? Do we want to be more healthy? Do we want to be more present with our loved ones? Do we want to do a better job of connecting with our social networks? Do we want to be better Muslims? There's a variety of different ways that we can sort of apply this idea of improvement to our lives. The most important thing for us to, I think, to remember and to consider here is that it really comes down to us and how we define improvement. And that's not for anyone else to sort of place upon us. We can't rely on those who are in our circle to say, hey, you really need to improve X or you really need to get better at Y. We have to do some soul searching and engage in some critical self-reflection and say, you know, when I examine my life and I look at where I am right now, I would really like to improve in these key areas. One of the things that we know, though, is that there is no improvement. We will not be able to accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish without self-discipline. And I'm sure you all have watched short videos or maybe even read a few articles about the connection between uh, self-discipline and self-love, or self-discipline and self-care. And one of the things that we're starting to see is sort of a reframing of this idea of discipline, whereas this discipline has maybe had historically sort of a negative connotation to it, meaning that we have often viewed discipline as something that was placed upon us, or was an expectation or an idea that someone was forcing us to meet. And now, as we think about this idea of discipline, particularly self-discipline, we really frame it as it's really a commitment to yourself and your own improvement. It's really a way for you to express self-love. It's a way for you to build confidence. It's a way for you to begin to commit to the establishment of a plan to help accomplish your goals. And this is very different from this idea of motivation, because one of the things that we have learned over time is that motivation is not the ticket to success. Motivation is not the ticket to accomplishing the things that we set out to accomplish. And the reason why that is because motivation wears off, which is why we have something called National Quitters Day, because people come out of the gate, you know, New Year's Day saying, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to purchase that gym membership. I'm going to remove all the bad foods from my refrigerator. I'm going to cast away my desire to go to KFC or to visit McDonald's. And we come out and we have this intense motivation to do these things. However, as you drive past the McDonald's or the KFC day after day on your way to work or on your way home from work, that motivation that you started out with begins to weaken. And then eventually, by that second Friday of January, you find yourself in the KFC drive-thru, or you find yourself ordering a large fry from McDonald's. And again, no one is immune to that, which is why motivation by itself is not enough for us to be able to accomplish our goals. We have to pair that motivation with self-discipline, and we have to create the conditions, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes, for us to remain disciplined. One of the things that we often think about folks who have accomplished something extraordinary, whether it's they have accomplished a great deal of wealth, or they might be physically fit, you name it, whatever it is that they've been able to accomplish, we sometimes will point to that person and say, well, they are able to do that because they are motivated, right? I'm often impressed with our resident imams and their ability to speak Arabic, and how they sort of fuse the reading of Arabic and the recitation of the Quran in Arabic throughout their khutbahs. And I've even had to catch myself from saying, wow, like they must be really motivated. The reason why they're able to do that is because they have more motivation than I do. And the reality is that's not, in fact, the case. What they have is more discipline, right? They have committed to this act of engaging in the learning of Arabic, the recitation of the Quran. And because of that discipline, because of that self discipline that they have expressed, they're able to accomplish things that I have not able yet to accomplish. And so it's important that we don't attribute everyone's success to this idea of motivation, because what it ends up doing is gives us a cop out, right? So, well, I'm just not a motivated person. I'm just not wired that way. I don't have that motivation. That's just not how my brain works. And so we give ourselves all of these excuses, whether it's, again, losing weight, whether it's learning Arabic, whether it's spending more time with family, whether it's writing a book, right? We oftentimes attribute those types of successes or accomplishments to this idea of motivation. And the reality is it really comes down to this idea of self-discipline. And when you express self-discipline, you are actually expressing self-love. You are actually expressing self-care. And so as long as we can make the connection between discipline and self-love, discipline and self-care, we actually might be more likely to express self-discipline in our daily lives. Another reason why we sometimes fall short of accomplishing what we set out to accomplish at the beginning of any given calendar year is because we fail to set realistic and specific goals. And I'll give you just a couple of examples of bad goals. I want to live a healthier lifestyle is one. You'll hear, you hear people say this all the time. I just want to be healthier. I want to live a healthier lifestyle. Or you might hear someone say, and I certainly have said this, I want to be a better Muslim, right? I want to be a better Muslim. What does that mean? I don't really know, but I want to be a better Muslim. I want to save more money. Okay, sounds good. But the reason why we fall short of these things, one, is because they're poorly written goals, number one. And the reason why they're poorly written goals is because they lack specificity. It lacks specificity. How do we define, for example, living a healthier lifestyle? What exactly does that mean? How do you define that? How do we know if and when we've hit the mark, right? What does it mean to be a better Muslim? How do we measure that? How will we know when we have hit the mark? And so when you set these ambiguous goals, even if they are ambitious, the ambiguity, the lack of specificity, it undermines your ability to define what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And so as long as you are unclear as the individual that is striving towards this goal, if you are unclear of what success looks like, if you are unclear what the target is that you're trying to hit, you're going to have a hard time organizing yourself and situating yourself in a manner that will allow you to accomplish, again, what you say you want to accomplish. So, for example, rather than saying something like, I want to save more money, say, I want to save an extra $150 per month, right? So it's very clear, right, what the target is. And you know when you've hit the target. Instead of saying, I want to live a healthier lifestyle, you might say something like, I'm going to eliminate the amount of Diet Coke that I drink during the week, or I'm going to greatly reduce the amount of soda that I drink in a given week. Or maybe you say something like, I'm going to strive, for example, to drink a half a gallon or a gallon of water a day. Again, you want to set very specific goals so that you know when you're hitting the mark. And this is important for psychological reasons because success fuels greater success. So if you start off with this very broad goal of living a healthier lifestyle and you commit to drinking a half a gallon of water a day, or you commit to drinking a gallon of water a day, when you hit the mark, you're going to receive feelings of accomplishment, feelings of success. You'll feel affirmed. You'll feel like a winner, and you can then build on those successes. Right? There's a, we talk about endorphins and the importance of um, sort of brain science when we think about this idea of success and accomplishments, and how we feed off of that positive energy. And so we want to create the conditions for us to be able to identify the progress that we're making, even if it's relatively, in your mind, insignificant progress. Because what we want to, remind ourselves of is it's those small victories that will end up leading to those, larger, more substantive victories. I often refer to one of the Weight Watchers slogans. I don't know if it's still a slogan of theirs, but it was some years ago, and that is, you have to lose 1 pound before you can lose 50. All right. And so sometimes we'll set a goal, I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, 50 pounds probably isn't the most realistic goal. You're not going to lose 50 pounds in, a month, for example, but you might be able to lose 4 pounds in a month. And so you're tracking your progress, and it's easier for you to track that progress because you have set very, very specific goals. So when you lose that 1 pound, you celebrate and it feels good, and you have that rush of positivity that comes through you, and that's now motivating. Right, we go back to this idea of motivation. So now you are motivated because you have accomplished a success. I've lost 1 pound, now I want to lose 2. And you lose 2 pounds, and now you want to lose 3. And then you lose 3, and now you want to lose 7. Right, and you continue to build on those small wins. But if you start off with a very vague goal, like, for example, right, I want to live a healthier lifestyle, then what are you building on? You have no box to check to say that I'm moving in the right direction. You have no way to properly progress monitor your success. And so it ends up being this sort of vague and ambiguous ambition that you don't have a way to really measure. So it's really key, right, to set these really specific and clear goals, because again, if you lack clarity on what it is you're trying to accomplish, it's going to be hard for you to organize your lifestyle and situate yourself in a way that's going to allow you to hit the mark. The other piece of guidance that I would share with you all as it relates to being better tomorrow than you are today is to set goals that are important to you. So, for example, if you set a weight loss goal, ask yourself why it is that you are trying to lose weight. Why do you want to lose weight? Right? If you have some sort of financial goal, you want to save more money. Why do you want to save more money? What's the purpose? What are you trying to accomplish by building a larger savings account? Right? If you are setting a goal to write a book by the end of the calendar year, why? Why do you want to write that book? What is it about the book that is important to you? How will others benefit from this book that you are writing? Again, you want to be centered in your why and your sense of purpose. I'm not just doing this because I saw someone on Instagram who was fit and I want to be fit too. So I'm going to set a goal of living a healthier lifestyle. Well, that's not going to be enough to continue to push you through, particularly the tough times, right? Particularly the tough times when you're going to see some regression. If you aren't fully aware and fully locked in to the why behind the goal that you're trying to set, or the improvement that you are committed to making, if you aren't clear on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you're not clear on the why behind the thing that you're trying to accomplish, if it's not important to you, if you can't communicate its importance to a fourth grader, then you probably don't have a clear understanding of why it is you're trying to accomplish this in the first place, right? So it's important that you set goals that are clear and specific and measurable, but it's also important that you set goals that are important to you. You want to make sure that you set realistic expectations. And I mentioned this a few minutes ago, right? Like no one's going to lose 50 pounds in a month. It took you longer than a month to gain the 50 pounds. So you're not going to lose it, right, in just a month. And so we want to be very clear in terms of what it is we're trying to accomplish, but we also want to be honest with ourselves about what's realistic, right? What's possible, and ask ourselves and be honest with ourselves about whether or not it's achievable. Right? Like, I was once a college basketball player. I'm never going to play a full basketball game again. Never. My physically, I am unable to do it. Right? There are certain things that I was able to do physically 15, 20, 25 years ago that I'll never be able to accomplish again. Has nothing to do with my level of motivation, has nothing to do with my desire. I'm physically incapable, right? I'm 6'6". I'm never going to be 200 pounds again. Probably not in my best interest to be 200 pounds again either, but that's not a realistic goal. That's not really achievable at my age and what it is that I'm trying to accomplish in my life, right? I don't know if I'm going to be able to write 10 books in the next 3 years. I don't know if that's realistic. Is it possible? Maybe. Is it realistic? Probably not, right? Because I'm not a full-time author, so there's other things that I have to focus on. I can't just focus on writing books. Be nice if I could do that, but that's not the life that I live. And so I have to be honest with myself about what's really achievable, right? I know, and I know this is being recorded, and I don't want to embarrass anybody or embarrass Black people in particular, right? I know that I'm never going to give up fried chicken. It's one of my comfort foods. It's something that I love, right? Something that's one of my mother's, foods that she made for me growing up that I will forever, ever love. So I will never say or set a goal that, hey, mom, never going to eat your fried chicken again. It's not going to happen. There's certain things I'm just not willing to part ways with. It's not achievable. It's not possible. So I can commit to living a healthier lifestyle, but that's not something that I'm going to be willing to give up. Now, maybe I'm willing to limit my consumption of fried foods or foods that I know are not good for me. But for me to just say that I'm never going to eat that type of food again is not realistic. So again, part of the reason why we have an issue with accomplishing our goals or living in ways that allow us to accomplish the things that we resolve to accomplish at the beginning of the year is because we're not always as honest with ourselves as we need to be, right? Like you have to have that conversation with yourself and say, is this something that's really important to me? Are there factors or influences outside of me that's compelling me to set this goal when I know it's not achievable, when I know it's not really all that important to me? And so that self-talk, again, go back to the word that I used a few minutes ago, this idea of being critically self-reflective. I have to be honest with myself because when you set an unachievable, unrealistic goal, you are the only person that suffers from it. Right? You suffer from it psychologically, and you might suffer from it financially, or you might suffer from it health-wise, because again, you have set a target that was not reachable. Doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you're not being totally honest and vulnerable with yourself. And so we have to, again, begin to ask ourselves, is this something that I'm really committed to doing? Is this something that's a real possibility? And we also have to understand that as we journey towards, the accomplishment of these goals, that success is non-linear. And we also have to be willing to expect and be prepared to deal with the failure that will come with it. So when most people set a goal, they believe, well, I set the goal and I'm going to do a little bit every day. I'm going to do a little bit every week. I'm going to do a little bit every month. And the expectation is that I'm going to make progress towards the goal. And the reality is that's not how it works. That's not how success works in anything. Anybody that's been successful in any industry, in any field, will tell you that they have had their failures, right? As a matter of fact, we know folks who have redefined what failure means, and they say, well, it's not really a failure. We don't fail, we learn, right? Failure or fail, first attempt in learning, all right? It's my first attempt in learning. And from this experience, I now walked away better able and more capable of accomplishing the thing that I have set out to accomplish. that I saw it on the t-shirt a couple months ago that I never fail. I win and I learn, right? I win and I learn, and that's it. And so we have folks who are trying to, again, sort of reframe what we mean by failure. But at the end of the day, it doesn't feel good. However you define it or whatever you call it, it doesn't feel good when you don't accomplish the thing you set out to accomplish. If you set a goal to lose 1.5 pounds in a week, and when you hop on the scale and you've actually gained 0.2 of a pound, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And it will undermine your sense of motivation. And that's why motivation is not enough. Because that's what usually happens. A person will say, well, I've been eating relatively clean all week. I only had 3 Mountain Dews, and I usually have 7. And so I'm 4 Mountain Dews in the deficit. And I expect that the scale is going to show it. And then they hop on the scale and they see that they've gained 0.7 of a pound. Well, why the heck did I stop drinking the Mountain Dew if I'm still going to gain weight? We've all been there. Or I'm trying to write a book and I sit in front of my laptop and one day I'm flowing and I've, written 15 pages. I got, 5,000, 6,000 words written. Then the next day I go back to write and I have brain freeze. I have writer's block. I'm not able to write one clear, coherent sentence. And so now I give up. So that dream of me publishing that book has now fallen to the wayside because I've given up because I've hit failure. And so if we aren't mentally prepared to deal with the inevitability of failure, right? It's not if, it's when. When I confront failure, what is going to be my response? When that scale goes up or my bank account goes down, I've been working really hard. I've been trying to save money because one of my goals this year is to increase my savings account by X%. And the minute I start saving up money, I realize that I'm hearing a grinding sound when I drive. I need new brakes. So now I got to tap into my savings account to go get those new brakes. Every time I try to do something to better my life, something happens. So now I got to exhaust my savings account to go get these brakes fixed. Forget it. I don't even need to worry about saving money. I'm just going to live day to day, week to week. So now you have abandoned your resolution to save more money because we were not prepared for the inevitability of failure. And understanding that you're going to have some good days, you're going to have some bad days. You're going to take 5 steps forward and 2 steps back. Like that's what the journey towards success looks like, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You don't sprint towards success. You don't sprint towards success. One of the things that I'm learning as a parent of a baseball player, a youth baseball player, is that failure is difficult. And one of the things that I'm trying to learn as a parent is how to prepare my youngest son to deal with failure. He has decided to choose a game that is all about failing. And for those of you who understand baseball and understand statistics and what makes you great in baseball, the best players in the world, the best hitters in the world fail 70% of the time. So if they go up to bat 10 times, 7 out of those 10 times, they will fail. That is the game of baseball. It is beautifully evil. And so I am teaching, or trying to teach Mason, who most of you on this call know, how to deal with the inevitability of failure in baseball. But then we can apply those same lessons from baseball to our non-athletic lives. And that in order for me to be great at anything, I have to be willing to accept failure. I have to be willing to deal with the emotions that come from failure. And then I got to be willing to battle back and respond in ways that are productive and that keep me on the path towards accomplishing the goals that I set out to accomplish. And one of the ways that we do that, brothers and sisters, is by committing to consistency. Consistency is better than intensity. And I'm going to show you a quick video about that in just a few minutes to help concretize that for those that are listening. So just quick video.
If you go to the gym and you work out and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing. And if you go to the gym the next day and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing, right? So clearly there's no results, can't be measured. It must not be effective. So we quit, right? Or if you fundamentally believe that this is the right course of action and you stick with it, you commit yourself to an act of service. You commit yourself to the regime, the exercise. You can screw it up. You can eat chocolate cake one day. You can skip a day or two. You know, it allows for that. But if you stick with it consistently, I'm not exactly sure what day, but I know you'll start getting into shape. Going to the gym for 9 hours does not get you into shape. Working out every day for 20 minutes gets you into shape. It's not about the events. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency.
So if you go to that's Simon Sinek, who is a well-known motivational speaker and leadership coach. And he often has very compelling ways of pushing us to think differently about the world around us and sort of how we interact with the world and how we define success and how we define our sense of purpose. But that short clip to me encapsulates everything that I think is important for you to understand as we think about this idea of leaving 2025 in 11 months and some change better than we entered. This idea of consistency. And let me explain and just build on something that he said in the video. The reason why consistency over intensity is so very important is because the consistency redefines or reshapes your identity. And so for much of what we're trying to accomplish, it requires a redefinition of our identity. Right? So we just don't want to be someone who eats well. Sometimes we want to be healthy eaters. I don't want to just be someone who reads. I want to be a reader. I don't want to be someone who writes every so often. I want to be a writer. I'm not just someone who goes to the gym infrequently. I'm an athlete. Right? I have to redefine my identity to accomplish what it is that I'm setting out to accomplish, if it's worth anything to me. Now, I can sit around and hem and haw and say, what I want to do, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. But if I'm not reshaping who I am as an individual, I'm just talking. I'm just talking. Right? If I'm not coming up with a plan that's going to enable me to express the level of consistency that I need to express to accomplish what I set out to accomplish, I'm just talking. I'm just dreaming, which is fine. Sometimes it's good to just dream. I like to sit around and dream about, owning that $5 million house that I drove past the other day in the suburbs and what I would need to do in order to be able to purchase a home that size. But am I really coming up with a plan, a financial plan that's built on consistency that's going to allow me to be able to invest and build? No, I haven't done any of that. So I'm just dreaming, which is fine. But let us not fool ourselves into believing that the articulation of a dream without a plan equals the type of consistency that it's going to take for me to accomplish the things I set out to accomplish. We talk about it all the time when we discuss athletes, great athletes, people like Steph Curry. And the problem, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, the problem with the world that we live in is that we live in a microwave society, all right? Especially the younger generation, right? They don't know anything about putting leftover food in the oven, having to wait for the oven to heat to 350. That takes 10 minutes. Then you got to put it in the oven, and then that takes 20 minutes for it to heat all the way through. They don't know anything. Take the foil off. They don't know anything about that. They know I take something out of the refrigerator, I put it in the microwave, I hit 3 minutes. I might not even have to hit 3 minutes. I might just hit reheat, and I'll walk away. Ding, 3 minutes later, I have a warm meal, right? We are now accustomed to getting what we want when we want it, right? I don't have to wait 4 to 6 weeks for something to be sent to me from a company that I purchased an item from. I go on Amazon, and Amazon sometimes will give it to me in 6 hours. I don't even have to wait a full day to receive what it is that I want. And so we've been socialized into believing that we can get what we want when we want it on our timeline. And that's just not how success works. And so I can go to the gym and I can, that first week of January, and I can hit it hard. I'm going to get on every cardio machine. I'm going to lift all the weights. I'm going to hit every weightlifting machine in the gym. I'm going to go hard for 2 days and my body's going to feel terrible. I'm going to be so sore. But I hit it hard. I hit the gym twice in a week and I went for 9 hours. And then I look in the mirror and I don't see any more muscle definition than I did 2 weeks ago. And so now, guess what? I've lost my motivation. I wanted a father figure and I still have a dad bod. I've been working out 2 weeks. What's going on? Why do I still have this dad bod? Right? Because that 2 weeks of high intensity does not equal months of consistency. So as he said in the video, to use the fitness example, it's much better to carve out 45 minutes a day if you're looking to have a healthier lifestyle, rather than go to gym for 4 hours, for 3 days. Go to the gym for 45 minutes a day for 4 weeks, and then 8 weeks, and then 12 weeks, and then see how your body begins to change. Right? Don't say I'm never going to drink Diet Coke again, because that level of intensity, if not matched with the right motivation, is going to wear off. You're going to get that urge again. You're going to get that urge to go back to Harold's. I'm never eating Harold's again. Then you drive past and that smell hits you and it's like, oh, that mild salt smells so good. And now you've denied yourself for 3 weeks because you come to this with intensity rather than consistency. So now you're gorging yourself. Now you want the half white, the regular white, the 6 wings, the 7 wings. You want an extra order of fries because now you feel like you've denied yourself. So now you're like a ravaging animal because you've denied yourself, because you approached it with intensity rather than consistency. Rather than saying, you know what, I am going to consistently eat better. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm only going to have Harold's once a week. And then once you're able to reduce it to once a week, maybe it's once every 2 weeks. And then maybe it's once a month. Now you're approaching it with consistency. I'm going to try to just after dinner take a walk. I'm going to take a 15-minute walk after dinner every day. And then eventually that's going to lead to a 20-minute walk, then a 25-minute walk, now a 30-minute walk, because you've approached it with consistency, right? You are compounding the investment that you're making in this healthier lifestyle that you're seeking. And so now you're building on those successes. So now I go to the gym every day for an hour. In 6 months, my body is different. And I haven't killed myself to get there. I've been reasonable. I've been consistent. I've been deliberate, but I've also been very thorough and very thoughtful. And so now my body feels good. I don't feel sore. I can walk. You sometimes see people, particularly the first, part of the new year, they go to the gym and they go too hard, and then you see them and they can barely walk because they, hadn't run in 6 months. Now they've decided today they're going to run 5 miles, right? That's intensity. It's also insanity. That's not a recipe for success. And so we want to make sure that we reshape our identities. What is it that you have to do in order to become a writer? If you're someone who wants to become a writer, what do you have to do in order to reshape your identity or redefine your identity as a writer? You have to write every day. You have to write every day. You want to consider yourself a reader? You got to read every day. Not read 9 hours on Monday and then not read again until next week. No, you have to read every day. You want to be an athlete? You got to work out most of the week, right? Like, again, you got to reshape who you are at your core. And so for many of us, and again, I don't know what personal goals that you've set for yourself, but for many of us, it requires us to reshape who we are, right? Not just state it and say, okay, I want to hit this mark by this time. No, it's how do I then create the conditions so that I am a different person as a result of my commitment to this initiative or to this effort. I mentioned before that motivation and inspiration are overrated. Why are they overrated? Because they always wear out and wear off. Your inspiration will wear off. You will be inspired. You will be motivated. I'm excited. It's like going to hear a great speaker. Every Friday, I leave the masjid inspired. But by Saturday, that inspiration has worn off. Unless I've done something intentional to connect my actions to that inspiration that I felt when I left the masjid. Right? And because if I don't do that, then I leave the masjid every Friday inspired, but I don't become any better of a Muslim from Friday to Friday if I don't do anything to attach actions to that level of inspiration. Because if I just walk out of there and expect that inspiration and that motivation is going to carry me through, then I've made a gross miscalculation. Here's an example of what I'm talking about here.
This quote hit me in my chest. Usain Bolt said, I trained 4 years to run 9 seconds.
Wow, records gone!
And people give up when they don't see results in 2 months.
Right. This idea that Usain Bolt is trying to be the fastest man in the world. The race is 9 seconds. That's it. If he runs more than 9 seconds, he runs more than 9.5 or 9.6 seconds, he's not the fastest man in the world. It's a 9-second race for all intents and purposes. He has to train 4 years for this. 4 years. Steph Curry might take, 15 three-pointers in the game. But he's going to shoot 700 of them before the game starts. He's going to shoot another 500 when the game is over. This is what I mean when I say we got to change our identity. It's not just something that you aspire to. It becomes something that defines who you are. Right? Steph Curry is a shooter. That's what he does. That's his identity. Right? But he's committed his life to that. All of his preparation is about being the very best that he can be in that particular industry. Right? As an NBA player, I want to be the best shooter. So my identity becomes wrapped up in the pursuit of that enterprise. So I am going to outwork everybody that is also trying to, journey to that point of success. But I'm going to outwork them, and this is how I'm going to do it. It's going to be a part of what I do. Not something that just sort of happens organically. No, I'm going to commit myself to this thing. And we can apply that to any aspect of our lives, that it takes you changing who you are in order to accomplish the thing that you want to accomplish. And sometimes we aren't ready to change who we are, and that's okay. And that's when we go back to what I said before about you have to have a real talk conversation with yourself. And as I'm saying this to you all, I'm reminding myself of the same thing. Right? This isn't me pointing my finger. I haven't figured it out yet. There's a lot of things that I haven't accomplished. There's a lot that I've left on the table. And again, one of the reasons why is because I haven't changed who I am. I haven't reshaped my identity. I also haven't changed my environment. So as we think about accomplishing those things that we want to accomplish, we also have to be cognizant of our environment, right? James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, said, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. If you aren't changing the environment that you are in, you will face more difficulty and reduce the likelihood that you will accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So I'll give you an example. If you are an individual who has endeavored to reduce the amount of time that you spend on your phone, particularly at night, then you must decide, how do I change my environment to support the change in my behavior? So that might require you to take your phone off the nightstand that sits directly adjacent to your bed, and either charge your phone in a different room or move your phone to a different part of the room so you don't have easy access to it. That's what I mean by change your environment. If you are an individual that endeavors to eat cleaner in 2025, that might require you to get the Oreo cookies out of the cabinet and not have those types of foods in the house. That's me, right? I don't typically make a special trip to go buy food that I know I shouldn't consume. But if it's next to me, if I have access to it, I'm going to consume it. So if I want to eat clean, I have to change my environment. That means that the Oreo cookies and the potato chips and you know, the corn chips and all those things that, you know, I like to snack on when I'm watching the football game or whatever, those things cannot be readily available to me. I can't do it. If my wife makes a chocolate cake, and I'll eat a whole cake if my mind is not right. I have to make sure that we freeze the part of the cake that we don't eat and save that for later. Because again, if I have access to it, I'm going to eat it. Why? Because I have shown and proven to myself that I don't have the motivation and I'm not inspired enough. Why? Because those two things run out, right? They will run out and they will wear off. I don't have the motivation and inspiration to continue to eat clean if I'm constantly bombarded with these things that I know I shouldn't be consuming. So we have to change our environment. If you watch too much TV, you might need to take the TV out of your bedroom so that no longer becomes a part of your environment. These are environmental changes that we have to make to create the conditions for us to have some success. We have to automate our decisions, automate good decisions. So again, going back to the healthier lifestyle example, if you are trying to lose weight or you want to be more fit, however you define that, then you have to automate good decisions. What does that mean? You might have to prep your meals. Not to prep your meals. You can't go to work and then at lunchtime then try to figure out what it is you're going to eat. Why? Because typically when people do that, they make bad choices. It's why you never go to the grocery store hungry. If you go to the grocery store hungry, you're more likely to make bad food choices. If you go to work and you haven't planned out what you're going to eat for lunch, you're more than likely going to make a bad food choice. So if you bring in your lunch is a way in which you have automated a good decision. You're no longer thinking about what you're going to eat. You already know what you're going to eat because you've already prepared it, right? You've taken any sort of decision-making off the table. If you are someone that's aspiring to work out more frequently, you're going to work out in the morning, lay out your workout clothes at night before you go to bed so that when you wake up and you're tired and you're half sleeping, the fact that you have to pick out your workout clothes no longer becomes a barrier to you going to the gym. Your clothes are already laid out. Your bag is already packed. Your water bottle is already in the refrigerator. So you're automating your good decisions. For me, I'm not suggesting that this works for everyone else, but when I am trying to get in writer's mode, I'll keep my laptop by my bed. Not so I can check email, so that when I wake up in the morning, the laptop is right there. I can grab the laptop and get right to work. I'm trying to automate good decisions. I want to make good decisions easier for me. You also want to make sure that these decisions that you're trying to make, these positive, good decisions that you're trying to make, you want to put them in the flow of what you're already doing. So maybe it's a situation where you leave work, you've identified a gym that is on your way home from work. So you got to drive past the gym to get home. What does that do? It increases the likelihood that you will make that stop at the gym. Right? These are things that we want to do. We want to make good choices easy for us. Whatever we can do to make these things easy for us, we want to do. Why? Because we cannot rely on motivation. We cannot rely on inspiration. We have to make ourselves more disciplined. And one of the ways that we make ourselves more disciplined, where we're able to express more self-discipline, is by creating the conditions for us to redefine and reshape our identities. And that starts with addressing the environment that we find ourselves in. And lastly, as it relates to how we can increase the likelihood of our accomplishing the goals that we set out to accomplish, We want to subtract negative influences, whatever those things are, and whoever those individuals are. For me, a negative influence, social media. Social media doesn't make me feel good about myself, and so I try to limit my interactions on social media. I'm not inspired by social media typically. I might get a few good workout ideas or something like that, and every once in a while I see a cat video and but for me to spend any real time on social media, it impacts my self-esteem. I've now recognized that about myself. So I have to subtract that from my life. It's like we talk about during Ramadan, right? That during Ramadan, it's not just about not eating and drinking. It's also about mastering what we consume. We don't just consume with our mouths, we consume with our eyes and our ears as well. And so we want to make sure that we are thoughtful and considerate about what we are consuming and how what we are consuming is impacting us as individuals. For some of you, it's who you are surrounding yourself with. Again, it doesn't make them bad people, but if you're trying to save money and all your friends are, spending all their time on Amazon, and that's all you all talk about is what deals you found on Amazon or what sales you found at Ross or at Kohl's, then, those individuals might not be the individuals you want to connect with right now. Doesn't make them bad people. You still love them, but you have different goals. You have a different vision for where you want to be. Right? If you're trying to, lose weight or adopt a healthier lifestyle, and the friends that you currently hang with, every Friday night, they're at Uncle Julio's or they are at some restaurant where you're consuming thousands of calories in one meal, then maybe that's not the crew that you want to hang with right now. And you got to find a different set of friends or a different accountability group that's going to help you be the person that you want to be. And that's probably the toughest part of the journey. Because once you start doing things different, people will begin to question you. Why are you trying to lose weight? You fine already. You don't need to lose any more weight. You're going to get too skinny. And they say it in ways that's not like they trying to be negative, but it's negative. Why are you eating so healthy? Why are you eating that celery? You don't like celery. You want these chips with the queso on it. Yeah, I do really want that, but I really need to eat this celery. But if you're going to be around people who are going to be influencing you in negative ways or pulling you away. We tell this to kids all the time, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. I think sometimes we forget that as adults. It's the same thing for us. If we're hanging around, if we're associating with people or with entities that are pulling us away from where we want to be, we have to make some tough decisions. And that part is probably the toughest segment of this journey. And then I'll end with this. Right? A comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. Accomplishing the things that we want to accomplish, it requires us to be uncomfortable. Chika Akua said, uncommon accomplishments require uncommon commitment in all facets of your life. So it's not just about what you are eliminating or what you're adding to your life. It's also about who you're hanging with, how you're spending your time. Like all of those things are very, very important. They're an important part of the equation. And that is going to create some discomfort. But on the other side of that discomfort are possibilities that we might have thought were impossible or unachievable. So inshallah, I pray that you got something out of this presentation today. If I said anything worthwhile, anything that touched you in a positive way, know that comes from Allah. If I said anything that was incorrect or offended anyone, that comes from me, and I apologize for that. I pray that you found value in today's Taaleem and that you can leave today and feel a little bit more comfortable in leaning into that discomfort and accomplishing whatever it is that you want to accomplish this calendar year. So we'll close with Al-Asr. Al-Asr. And now let's turn to Lafi Kus. Ila Lidina Amanu Amadu Salihati. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lionel. Beautiful presentation.
Thank you, brother.
Let's get uncomfortable.
Inshallah.